This is a car I've been waiting a long time to drive. The new 2020 Toyota Supra. All the figures are big about this car, from the $92,000 purchase price for this base model to the $102,000 for the top model. There's only two models, they've both got the same engine, so it's all just little bits of trickery that you get for that $102,000. Frankly, I'd save you 10 grand and just buy this base model. It is achingly beautiful to look at, and for those of you that think this isn't pretty, you're wrong. You're wrong. No, not you, you're not wrong. You're wrong. You, out there, the viewer. Because this is a peach. I was at the harbour last night and took some great photos. I wanted to get the LED headlights, which look absolutely stunning. A little bit Audi-esque. I got this haunch, and there's a line that runs all the way down and all the way across the door, and you're not aware of it unless you can see it in the right light. There's little intakes everywhere. Some of them are real, some of them are fake. If there's one annoying thing, and that is the fact that to open the boot you either need the key or you need to go around to the driver's door and click the button on the back. The boot is surprisingly generous. There's over 200 litres. The boot's quite shallow, of course there's no spare, and there's a big lump at the back for bracing and bits of suspension or what have you. There's more than enough room in here for the average road trip. A couple of bags, you'd certainly get a couple of overnight bags in here. We've got the camera gear and a satchel and a drone and what have you. So there's more than enough space. So you could theoretically take you and your honey for a long trip. You could drive from Sydney to Brisbane or Sydney to Melbourne. It's only got a 52 litre fuel tank, so you are going to need to refuel reasonably often. But we've been getting 9.2 litres per 100 kilometres on our trip, and we've just been up and down Macquarie Pass a couple of times. The little kick up here at the back window. Of course, it's only a two-seater, remember, so there's no need for a huge back window to have lots of freeloaders in. That swoop that I mentioned earlier, there's a fake vent there. There's another fake vent here, genuine fake artificial vent. It's just hard rubber, which seems really odd. But then, get this. Hang on a sec, don't go away. I'm going to do two pulls on the release because this is, at the end of the day, a BMW and Toyota co-production. The headlight is multiple stacks of LEDs that come on individually at night. The whole system is fully automatic. You leave the system in automatic, and the second you leave the city it turns high beam on, and as the need arises it manipulates these LEDs up and down. It's Nav's back. Navman. You're a Navman. We're leaving the bottom of Macquarie Pass now, and this is, I think, one of the most beautiful roads in the country. I'm going to pop it into sport because I can. Now you can see these bends are incredibly tight, and one thing we noticed, here's a little bit of footage we shot earlier. This thing really sticks to the road. And in fact it's on the verge of feeling four-wheel drive-ish. It's not, of course, it is a
rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive. Well done. And what do we love?
Rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drives.
Straight six and a rear-wheel drive.
This has a twin scroll turbo, and the little turbo spins the big turbo up so that there's less lag. So on a road like this you can keep those revs up in order to get around those corners. This thing is, it's almost psychic, especially in sport mode, don't you reckon?
Absolutely.
Well, you haven't driven it yet, but you will do in a minute.
I think when just sitting in here going around some of these bends, you can feel the rear end just go where you want it to go. It rotates, and I think that was the thing I was pointing out, how well it just rotates on its axis.
Absolutely. And because I just put it into manual, I missed my gear. Did you notice that?
I did. I didn't want to mention it.
Oh dear. But so this is the joy of driving a Supra. Now, we want to go back first a little bit over the history of Supra. It goes back to 1978, and if you go on Toyota's website, they've got a really great graphic of the cars they had, and those early Supras were dolled up Celicas. Nothing wrong with the Celica, they were excellent cars. But it was not a patch on the cars that became Supras later on. The last one I think was 92, unless I miss my guess. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And then that brings us up neatly to 2019, where Toyota went into this partnership with BMW. And a lot of people thought, oh God, Japanese technology with BMW knowledge and build. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out mechanically, because a lot of people have had trouble with their BMWs, whereas Toyotas will outlast Armageddon. So what BMW and Toyota did was they jointly developed the engine and technologies that go inside, but the car is pure BMW inside. So anyone that's been in a BMW recently will recognise the sound system, pure BMW. And one thing I did pick up was that the 12-volt power supply doesn't fit normal, like the plugs won't take normal accessories. You've got to get special BMW accessories to fit, or they just don't fit.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, which is a pain in the bum. So my trusty Navman had to be fitted into a special BMW 12-volt adapter.
Even the infotainment system, generally car reviewers will say it's not as good as a BMW, but in this instance, it is as good as a BMW.
Well, you'll
iDrive.
remember the first iteration of iDrive, everybody hated it. And they hated it because it was unbelievably difficult to use. They've had to get used to it now because just about everybody has one kind of iDrive or another, or something similar. Now we've been switching directions back and forth, and I've got to say the steering is brilliant. In sports mode it pretends to have a little bit more feeling, but remember, this is just simulated feeling. There's no actual feeling because it's electric.
Yeah.
So the interior, Nav, what do you think about the interior?
Well, so to give everyone perspective, Alan, how tall are you?
Almost 6 foot, so 5'11" and a half.
5'11". I'm a 5'7" on a good day, and I can see that Alan's got his seat in his lowest position. He still has a couple of inches of headroom. Me, I'm perfectly comfortable. I can actually, with my seat all the way back, stretch my legs out. So room's great. The interior has a very decent mix of quality. A little bit of glossy black, which we love.
Well, piano black, like it's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I'm so sorry that we're going up this pass slower than bloody Adam, but there's people in front doing 20 and 30 in a 60 zone.
I do love this. I think we were talking about this carbon fiber around the
Carbon fiber insert on the center console. I think looks great. The one-touch buttons. I just want to talk about these one-touch buttons. They are brilliant. Whatever you've got displayed on the screen, you can put into that button. So if you've got your home address, your favourite radio station, regardless of band, or some function of the car, you can program it into one of those one-touch buttons.
Alan, what do you think of the speedometer? It's a mix, isn't it?
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
A motorcycle. It's exactly like my motor. I've got a Z1000, a Kawasaki Z1000. That's exactly like it on a kind of a smaller, simpler scale.
Okay.
I'm just going to slip this back into automatic now and let the car do its own thing. We're not really going fast enough to need too much fancy footwork. But I want to mention also that we've got all the safety gear. So we've got active lane control, active cruise control, active blind spot monitoring. So in other words, it won't let you change lanes. If there's someone there, it'll try and avoid it anyway. But the drivers, of course, can always override it. This is my favourite corner. Get around there, little doggy.
How do you find the seats? I know when we first got in, we were trying to figure out how to adjust. You can have adjustable bolsters on it, which is fantastic.
Yes, we've got adjustment fore and aft, the rear seat, and also on the rear seat is the lumbar support, which on both of them goes in and out and up and down.
Yeah.
Not only that, the side bolsters of the top of the seat, so of the seat back, they go in and out too. And I like a bit of in and out. You like a bit of in and out action, don't you?
Yeah.
How often? In the seat. How often do you adjust it in the seat?
Actually,
Dirty. God, it's dirty, filthy. You're filthy.
I have to say I've been using it a lot.
Now, what about the seat?
Oh, right, the seat, yes. Seat, not so much. No, I have actually. When we were driving on the highway, pushing out the bolsters, pushing out the support, so it became this armchair, as close as you can get to an armchair type seat.
This is a hairpin, cheese.
When we're going through these twisty mountains, with a touch of a button, you can tighten it up, and there you go. No, pull over.
Oh well, now we're behind a Falkwood.